All right, today's the real test. We've been working on this paint, no joke, for over 12 months now. Very brief overview. I was honored to be invited to have my hand in designing a limited edition, or should I say special edition, Aston Martin DBX. This is it, and one of the big things is that we were granted access by Aston Martin to apply a Valkyrie-based paint technology to the DBX. Now, I've been banging on about it for a while. We've done the full factory tour. We even mixed and shook and developed our own paint. But this man here is the real test. So this is Afer, and he is our head detailer and paint ninja here at NVN. And he's going to tell me if what I've been saying over the last 12 months is true, effectively, mate. So where do we start?
Well, we'll do a quick, I'll go around and we'll do a quick paint depth gauge.
Okay.
I know that it should have a healthy amount of paint. It hasn't been touched, so we'll just do one anyway as a precaution.
Okay.
So when we're going around a vehicle and polishing, we'll just know where we need to be a little bit more careful.
Sure thing.
So what we're going to do is, we haven't washed the vehicle yet. We're just going to do a quick inspection, see what, see if there's any defects on there, how thick the paint is, and figure out a way or a method how we can get the paint looking at its best.
I actually stood in the room and watched this car being sprayed.
Oh, excellent.
which is amazing. Never did I think we'd be here in our own space going, okay, is the job up to it? I mean, visually, first impact, phenomenal. But this is getting quite scientific now from a detailer's point of view, right?
How many different layers of paint are on this?
The paint itself had a combination of, I think it had 14 different compounds in it. Yeah.
So
it's quite
not an easy colour to mix.
No,
right. Okay.
Not at all. So it's a really special shade, and as I said, the original technology for it was developed for Valkyrie, and the idea being that it accentuates the shape of any surface it goes onto by exaggerating high points and low points. So shadows go quite deep and highlights go quite high. So that's how it really shows off the sculpture. So hopefully, when you're finished with it, it'll be plus 10%,
Definitely.
We don't get that many green cars in here, but look at this. This is a Verde Scuro Ferrari 812 Superfast. Fascinating seeing these greens back to back. This is almost a sort of metallic British racing green. Not sure how the camera's picking it up, but it's that sort of finish. It does still have a beautiful heavy fleck under light, but looking at the two cars side by side, the DBX has a slightly more turquoise tinge to it, whereas this is almost a more traditional British racing green, even though it does have stunning, stunning features. Just come and check this out. On the interior of this car, we've got some serious contrasting matte green carbon. What a machine.
Quite a lot of paint.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so these readings here then.
Well, we've got two type of gauges here.
Right.
This probe will read the individual layers of the paint.
Oh, it'll like section them out?
It'll split them out.
Wow.
This is an overall reading.
Okay, so that's complete depth.
This is a complete depth.
Okay.
So once I start to, polish it and find out a method, I will kind of do a couple of areas just to see how much clear coat I got on the car. But this is just a general understanding on, I've done so many paint depth readings on most probably every single manufacturer out there. So I generally have an idea of how thick the paint should be.
Sure.
But no, this does have a healthy amount.
Okay.
It's the clear coat that we actually polish.
Yes.
Not the
not
colour.
The actual paint.
Not the colour. If you're polishing the colour, then you're in trouble.
So that's what this is for then?
This
to
is
tell you how much clear coat you've got to work with.
So even though this has, I think must probably double the amount of, let's say, maybe that Bentley.
Does it really?
Yeah, well, if you want this quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just have a quick, right, so you will see we've jumped from that to about 300.
Yeah. Look at that.
There you go.
134.
Yeah, but this is normal. So
that is pretty serious paint then?
So instantly what I've said was that it has a lot of colour on it. Sorry, a lot of paint.
Okay, yeah.
But one thing you've got to understand is what is more on here? Is it the clear coat? Is it the colour?
Okay.
So this is where you would need that.
Split out these individual layers, as it were.
This has around 300 microns.
Yes, so 300 microns total application.
Yeah, so 300 microns total application, and that has 140 microns.
Okay,
so
interesting.
It could possibly be. I think that there is more colour on here than on that vehicle.
When we mixed the paint, Aston produced 20 litres of it to coat this car. Now I think for your average SUV, it's kind of like 15, 16 litres. Now they do have excess for overrun, etc. In total, there was 20 litres of paint on this thing, so it's quite a lot.
I think that this would must probably have the same amount of clear coat as that vehicle.
Right, okay.
Maybe 5% more clear coat.
Yeah.
But I think it's the colour that...
It's actual heavier paint.
The heavier paint on that, absolutely.
Learn something new every day. All right. All right, check this out. Well used, but very well loved Mercedes 300 SL. I love it when we get the classics in because they have so much story. Now, what is very cool about this car is Afer, that we're speaking to right now, has prepped for us a before and after. Now, this is just a stage one on the condition of the paint on the boot of this car, but you might just be able to see this fine line down here as to what the paint was like and as it is now after just its first detail. Now, there's still a lot more work to take place in this, but as a one single run, that's not a bad start to a classic car.
Oh,
interesting.
Interesting.
So interesting. So that specific point there is almost half of our average reading.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. And do you find that this is quite a regular occurrence on the nature of hand-sprayed cars? Because inherently, the consistency won't be quite there.
Was this hand sprayed?
Yeah, it was hand sprayed.
So then that makes complete sense.
Okay.
So, you know, when robots are spraying the car, it's
complete consistency.
It's complete consistency. Plus, there might be 5 or 10 microns difference, but that's all you're going to get.
Yeah.
And you can see with humans, we're not that perfect because we've jumped from.
But isn't it amazing? We are obviously seeing a visual representation of the thickness of a paint through numbers here. These guys, by hand, are achieving microns difference in there. It's actually amazing.
So,
absolutely incredible.
A lot of people ask, why are we bothering to do this on a new vehicle? Why?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of manufacturers must probably go through the same process. It's a new vehicle. But to me, this is the perfect example why I do this, because each panel is giving me a different reading.
Yes.
So I kind of need the knowledge of how thick the paint is around the car. And that will give me a better understanding on which areas I need to be careful with, which areas I can go a little bit more harder with, or there might be some areas that I need to take off wet sanding marks.
Okay.
So I've got to make sure that the clear coat is healthy.
On the other end of the spectrum of clients' requests, what we don't normally do and we try to stay away from is deconstructing components of cars. Now, one of the things that you might notice on this Mini GP is that the surrounds here are all off, the intake here into the air box, the window surrounds, we have removed the surrounds effectively of this. Now, on a lot of cars, this is quite complicated, but on the Mini, it's really easy. Now, at client's request, what we can do to make the integration of the PPF as seamless as possible, take, for example, the edging of the windows, by removing the surrounds here, we can tuck the PPF right under and over so that when you apply the seals back on, it is completely seamless. You would have no idea that there's PPF on it. So we often say to clients bringing in these cars, if you want this service, we can do it, but we always check with them first because it's kind of against our ethos really to pull cars apart. I think manufacturers do an incredible job of literally laser guiding robots to build their cars with precision panel gaps. So to pull them apart would be a shame. So, but in the instance of the Mini GP and a few other cars, to pull off like fairings like this is super easy. So very cool. Also, more detail which you might not see, sort of a composite forged carbon winglet happening here, which is niche. Anyway, one thing I would say, the car's great, but I wish hot hatches have got to be manual, surely. I don't know why they didn't make the GP in a manual option. Nonetheless, wicked little car. Interestingly, 2 separate people sprayed each side of the car on this simultaneously.
Oh, really?
Fascinating.
Oh, wow.
So they both pretty much started in similar places.
Right.
But one guy finished earlier than the other guy. They sprayed at different rates, almost different distances from the panel. And they've come up with, as we've just seen, basically identical. I mean, to the human eye.
Correct.
I mean, we're talking nanoscales of difference here.
Well,
don't you find that like that's bonkers that 2 guys, totally separate sides, different techniques. One guy's rate of flow from his spray gun was slower than the other guys.
Correct.
Totally different thing, and yet here we are, as consistent as
It could be.
gets.
I mean, the difference could be 2 passes,
yeah.
2-3 passes
Uh-huh,
more
yeah, yeah.
than somebody else doing it. That's all it takes sometimes.
Okay, so
Not much.
super subtle.
Yeah,
top.
yeah, it's very, very fine because we're not removing orange peel. We're just removing very fine defects. We'll take out in there.
Oh yeah, just under here.
Yeah, but the actual colour it's amazing. It's the flake and, I mean, in here you can see you've got
Yeah.
it's really dark, and then as soon as the light hits this area,
It really pops it,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
really,
Yeah, no, I'm really
cool colour.
happy with how it's turned out. And now it's had the seal of approval from Afer. We know it's legit.
Yeah.
All right, massive thank you to Afer, our paint ninja, for running us through the technology on this paint. And also a massive thank you to the NVN family and team. As always, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Ciao.